So a lot of people ask, one of the main reasons why you get into truck driving is you want to make a good living, right? You might want to be on the road, but it all comes down to you want to be able to make a good living, you want to be able to make money. And, so that comes down to pay. So in PSD, you're going to get a $200 a week loan. Now, this is going to be the best loan you ever get in your life and you do not have to pay it back till you start the TNT phase. And whenever you start paying it back, there's not going to be any interest or, extra payments. You're just paying $25 a week until it's paid off. And it lets you save your money while you are doing your PSD phase. Now, that's what you're going to use while you're out on the road, so you aren't having to, deplete your bank account so that you can get food and everything on the road. You aren't really, unless you just have like a dickhead of a trainer, you aren't going to have to pay for showers, because whenever you fill up, they're going to get the free shower credits, and so you can get a team shower, and what that is, they just turn one shower into two. So that's not going to cost you anything. Some people, it might seem a little tight, but I mean, really, $25, $30 a day, that's quite a bit of money whenever it comes to, eating. Whenever you get into the TNT phase, you will start your first 40,000 miles. You are going to get $700 a week. Now, that's $700 a week before taxes. And then also, you are going to have to pay back whatever you owe out of that too. So for just the normal circumstances, you're going to be getting $700 a week. They take about $50 out for taxes, so that takes you, down to $650. And then you're going to pay $25 payment for your loan payment. Now, me personally, I had to have a sleep study, get a CPAP, and I'm having to pay that back and pay them to monitor it. So $107 taken out of my check every week until everything gets paid back. So I bring home roughly, about $570, $575 if I don't go over 5,000 miles. Now, once you get to 40,000, which this next week I should be getting to 40,000, you're going to get bumped up another $100. So you're going to get $800 a week before taxes, before any deductions. And you will be that way until you get through with your training. Now, training is 50,000 miles, but that doesn't mean that you're going to do 50,000 miles and just hop from the trainer's truck into your own truck. It all depends about availability, what's going on. I know with this COVID thing, they've, kind of had people in trucks longer than the 50,000 miles. I personally am hopeful that here in the next 2-3 weeks, whenever I get my miles completely finished, I won't have that long of a list to wait on. But that's just something that we're going to have to wait and see. So, and then people want to know about, time frames and everything else of what you're going to have to do. Well, whenever it comes to the PSD portion, they say 2 to 4 weeks. I did it in about a week and a couple of days, and we were back, on the yard doing pad training so I could take my CDL test, start getting a paycheck. Now, if you have to take the full 4 weeks, you have to take the full 4 weeks. I mean, whatever you need to do to be able to safely drive. Like, I have some experience pulling goosenecks and fifth wheel trailers in my past, just not on the scale of being in a semi. So I had a grasp of what I needed to do for all my maneuvers, being out on the road. So it really is kind of just at your own pace and what your trainer, feels comfortable with. Now, whenever it comes to the TNT phase, it's all going to be dependent on, what your trainer does. I had a trainer that really wanted to knock stuff out. After my PSD, I had a 4-day home time, but that was because I was trying to get my license changed over. Texas is only doing appointments right now, and I ended up being able to work myself in. So I went from just being home overnight to get some blood pressure medicine refilled to being home until Monday, because I was able to get into the DMV and get my license changed over for my home state. Now, after that, I went 6 weeks on the road, and your pay averages out for 5,000 miles. Now, not every week are you going to get 5,000 miles, but you will get your guarantee. The only thing about that is, it means that you're going to have to put in more weeks because you don't have the miles yet. had a few really good weeks, and then my trainer had to go back and he wanted to get the truck touched up on paint, get a few things worked on. He had family coming in he hadn't seen in a while, so I took home time. Well, my trainer lives in Springfield and I live in Texas, so he dropped me off. Well, I ended up being off the truck for a week's time, and not only am I off the truck for a week's time, not getting paid because you aren't being dispatched, well, I'm not getting miles. And then once we get back on the truck, of course, we have to get back in the groove, get back on the dispatcher's good side, whatever you want to call it, and start racking up those miles again. Now, I've been out about, I think, 2 more weeks this time. I was hoping to have all my miles done by now, but since it didn't work out, we had a lot of downtime, sitting, waiting on receivers to unload, waiting on shippers to load us. So it's taking a little bit longer. I meant to have it by the 1st of October, but now it's looking more like it's going to be the 15th, to the 20th, something like that. But we're going to knock out these miles. We're trying to get as many as we can in, and then at 50,000, hopefully, I won't be on that long of a list. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And then I plan on going into the leasing program, having my own truck, and I'll have more information about everything then. One suggestion I'll make is, get a little notepad, and from your app, you can see how many miles your trips are. Write down the miles for your trip. Now, it's going to be the total miles driven. I personally like to keep track of, total miles and loaded miles. But just keep track on a little notebook, add it up at the end of each week, just so you personally have knowledge of how many miles you have and how far away you are from your 50,000 goal. To try and help expedite the process, so that you can get in the truck sooner. Because yeah, $700, $800 a week, that's nothing bad at all, but you're here to make money, and you're here to be on your own, or at least I'm here to get in my own truck and be doing my own thing. So realistically, I want to get out of my trainer's truck as soon as possible. So I'm going to do everything that I can so that I can expedite that process and get in my own truck as quick as possible. Now, you don't want to be pushy. You don't want to, try and force anything or force the issue, but just communicate and talk to your trainer and your dispatch, just so everybody knows, where y'all stand, what's going on, and just do your best to try and get in your truck as soon as possible without being pushy or overbearing about anything. And if you have a trainer that wants to stay out and just get stuff knocked out, my suggestion is don't try and take home time, every 3 to 4 weeks. Like, stay out there and get it knocked out as much as possible. The sooner that you get everything knocked out, the sooner that you're going to be in your own truck and be more in your own control. Now, if you're going company, control is not something you're really going to have. You're going to have that guaranteed paycheck, pretty much guaranteed money, and they're going to keep you out for a month, and then you're going to go home for 3 or 4 days, and there's nothing really you can do about it. Whereas lease, if you go lease, you're your own boss. You can stay out as long as you want to stay out. You can take off whenever you have the money to take off, and you have more say over what's going on. One of the biggest things is, while you're doing your TNT, once you get the grasp of all your driving, you're comfortable, do as much as you can to learn all the other trades that you need to know. Ask your instructor questions about paperwork, do the communicating whenever it comes to being at shippers or receivers. Get the paperwork, sign for the paperwork, back up to the docks, get unloaded, call dispatch whenever you're doing your live loads when you get through at a shipper. Send in the information whenever you're doing your depart, make your departure through your app, do it yourself. Learn as much as you can, because the more that you learn, the more valuable you are. The more valuable you are, the quicker and more likely you are to be able to go further in this company, to be able to do things, Since I had a really good grasp on everything, the second week, after I had my CDL, by the second week, I was, figuring out everything I could as far as doing paperwork, making live load calls, talking to dispatch, accepting loads, just everything that you can do to learn it. Don't just screw around and say, oh, well, I'm just here doing my driving, I'm just getting my miles. Not only is that going to make everything stretch out because all you're doing is just driving and focusing on miles, but also you aren't showing any effort, you aren't showing any desire to be better in the company. Plus, you aren't going to know shit if you don't ask questions. So make sure that you ask questions. If you aren't sure, ask. That's why your trainer's there. Learn as much as you can and do as much as you can for yourself. Don't depend on your trainer to do everything while you're out on the road with them, because you're here to learn. You're getting paid to learn, you're getting paid to do the job, so do it. Treat this like you're a team driver, or like this is your truck. You're just trying to make it to the next step, and everything you can do that gets you further along will get you to that next step that much faster. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Hell, leave me a comment. You got any questions, concerns, or if you just want to talk, go right down there in those comments and type something up. Until the next time, y'all be safe and keep trucking.